Bam.
I am James DuMont, and you are watching the Break It Down show. We're going to break it down.
I can't even run my own show without causing craziness. I got my phone ringing off the hook. I'm trying to start this thing.
Hey, man, you got to beat those ladies down, man. You got your phone is blowing up. He's got girls. Look, I can't talk right now. I'll give you tips later. I got to go.
I'll give you later on.
Back of ones. Where were you? Yeah, exactly.
Jay's been on the show before. Super awesome dude. He's an actor and does all kinds of great stuff. You've seen him. I guess the favorite thing to say is that you've been in the Righteous Gemstones as Chad. And,
yeah, man. We the last episode aired on Sunday, man. It's a tough one. You know, like 6 years. We got through COVID. We got through two industry crushing strikes. And we still got to do the show. And myself and my son are on there. I play Chad, that is Danny McBride's enforcer, right-hand man, which ironically is what we're going to be talking about today. I'm moving into the from the bureau. Can I swear on here? That's the other big thing.
Yeah, of course. You fucking go crazy.
We're moving from the bureaucratic asshole phase of my career into the badass asshole phase of kicking ass, like the henchman, the bodyguard. So yeah, 4 seasons, 20 episodes. Working opposite the incomparable Danny McBride. There is nothing if anything that Danny McBride is touching is gold, and it's the most wonderful experience up and down the street. He is an incredible person, an amazing talent. And 4 seasons. And my son plays Pontius, plays his punked out with the tats in the hole and the Pete Davidson wannabe tattoos and hairstyle. And he did 25 episodes. I did 20. We spent this last 4 years, 6 years and 4 seasons going back and forth between New Orleans and Charleston, South Carolina, which is an incredible place to work and live. And so we, man, it's hard to kind of like that last episode, man, it really kind of choked me up because there's just, and then now all of us are on Instagram. We're all cast members are like posting all kinds of like photo dumps of like great stuff that we kind of probably should have done earlier, but the reality is we're like, man, I don't want to lose that feeling. I don't want to lose that experience. And also just Danny to go like, let's go out on top. Let's not go like, oh, that was a terrible, like, God, but that last season was really the last couple of like, let's go out, on top of it. And I'm hoping that, something like in the Emmy love will come out of this. Cause I think what times is that we get ignored. Over shows like Baby Reindeer, which is not it's a half-hour comedy. Baby Reindeer is not a half-hour comedy. Neither is The Bear, but that's the category they fall into. So Danny, on the first episode of season 4, he's like, okay, you want to see our version of a half-hour comedy? We got Bradley Cooper, like, you know what I mean? Like, we got Bradley Cooper in here, and we're going to go back to the Civil War. Let me show you how I do a half-hour comedy. And I just thought it was one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen. And I've been an Emmy voter and member for over 20 years. And so, I'm hoping the Academy acknowledges a show that, it's not in LA and it's not in New York. It's in Charleston, South Carolina. And it's brilliant. It's a brilliant, anybody who's had any friends in the South or part of any churches, the mega churches, it's like, oh my God, we nail it, but we don't nail them to the cross. It's still about family and faith. And so I just, it's I say to my son, I was like, this experience you have, like, it's all downhill from here because how we were treated and how, loving and supporting, and there's no power trips on set. I mean, Danny talks to everyone. Like he's part of everything, knows it, he's surrounded himself with people that he's worked with for 20 years. So it's like it's family. It's like going home for Thanksgiving. And
it's amazing. The first thing I wanted to say was he's built this, in the world of world builders, he has figured out how to have autonomy.
Yes.
And can write whatever he wants. And sure, he's got a style and he gets to play with all that stuff. And I also love, and talk about either of these. So Danny McBride, not only genius, but the ability to be genius and also the businessman who gets allowed to be said yes to. Yep. I mean, that doesn't happen for everybody. I just was watching an old interview of Val Kilmer on his own criticism of his own behaviors, right? And not appreciating the business side of what he had to do. Right. Danny McBride has crushed that. And I also, as much as I want California to thrive and survive and all that stuff, the ability to have film bureaus in South Carolina. I met a dude. This is 20 years ago. I lived in Vegas. I met one of the young guys. He was just out of college, and his job was to bring films 20 years ago, film to Georgia. And I'm like, damn, that guy did well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
To go out to these different
same thing in
landscapes.
Louisiana. It's like
Yeah.
there was a time where Louisiana had more film and television than New York and LA combined. I did 2 TV shows in a day. I did 2 movies in a day. That's how much work was here at that point in time. So it's possible to do it. It's possible to bring it here. Again, we're not going to get into politics, but like what this tariff thing and what we're like, it was not well thought out and well planned, and it's going to have another hit on our business. So it's like, I think you have to really be very strategic about, and the ripple effects of things. The tax credit game is a game. It's you're not giving away anything, even though the perception is that our tax dollars are being given to the film industry to kind of, and it's bait, because for every dollar in any state, for every dollar, Louisiana, for example, for every dollar that we give away or we offer them in a credit, they spend 4, they spend 6. Yeah. And the ripple effect that is restaurants and the real estate industry and hotels and car rentals and food and, gas for all the trucks. It's there's no giveaway. It's the return on investment and the amount of jobs that it creates is just phenomenal. And that's the other big thing is like, don't mess with something that is one of the biggest environmentally friendly commodities that this country creates, which is content, film and television. Like, we create content that the entire world wants. And how do I know? Because when COVID hit, what did everybody do? They burned through billions of songs, billions of content. So at the most trying times in our world, they turn to storytellers. They turn to us. And anybody who's any position of politics or billionaires, they're not powerful as a storyteller. They're just not. They were here after us. The storytellers were here. They didn't even have words. They were like grunts and rocks on walls telling the stories of the people. So I always say to people, like, never disrespect an artist, a storyteller, a creator, because the thing is, who else is going to document and show it? All this content that's out right now is like a time capsule for 50, 100 years from now. These are the kind of lives that we're here. Adolescence is a great example of that TV show where your friends and neighbors, like, this is a time capsule of how people are living in the 21st century. And 50, 100 years from now, this is what it's going to be. And I find that to be incredibly powerful and never to be disrespected. Taking away the funding for the arts that creates music and theater and dance and tells stories. Like, that's the stupidest thing you could do, but that's what an oligarch does. Is like, because if we have that platform, we're going to rise. We as a collective will rise up against those who are trying to, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I get down on a low, but the point is, I love what I do. I'm a human being creator. They give me material. It's like a magician. I know nothing about it. And in 24, same day, 24, 48 hours, I create a human being that I didn't know about before. I shoot it, document it, and I send it off. And then I'm on to the next one. And if it goes my way and they ask me to come back and bring this character back to life and get in front of a camera and have makeup and sound and lighting, and I work with another actor and I get compensated for it, fantastic. It's a great thing, but I love what I do so much. I can't afford to do it for free, and I won't. And, and even recently somebody offered me something that's like, I love the idea of it, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would I go from where I'm at to go backwards to where I started, 25 years ago? And that's the other hard thing, is that the vertical integration in the business, it's like these corporations want to pay me as if I just got a SAG card and I have 180 films and TV shows. Right. It's like being a pitcher. It's like being a 40-year veteran, Hall of Famer, and you want me to be on your team, but you want me to get paid less to maybe sit on the bench and maybe be available. And I go, I'm good. You know, what's meant for me is meant for me. This is the hardest thing I figured out is I audition usually 50 on a good year, 100 on a great year, 50 to 100 job interviews a year. I get 1, I get 3, I get 5. That's a great year. But not everybody's built for that kind of, longevity. And I also say I have to be very resilient, that resiliency. Yeah. So fire away. Any questions on
There's
that?
also a tightrope.
You have a lot of stuff your way. I always like to throw the little chum out there, like throw out the data.
No, I'm chummed up.
What are you guys going to bite on? You know what I mean?
Well, that tightrope that you have to walk, right? Everybody walks a tightrope. Everybody's got wind across their tightrope. But this is the one that you know how to walk on. Yeah, running a podcast. Not that we have the same world, but we're kin. Yeah. And look, it's hard. I've got Jason Bateman as my competition. Like it doesn't get any harder than that, And so you can't be afraid of Jason Bateman blowing wind across your line.
And Jason Bateman is Jason Bateman, but your audience is for your audience, and Jason's got a different audience. I think the thing is, I think I remember back in 2008 when like the financial crunch happened, and like people in their 40s and 50s were getting fired from jobs, and the housing market crashed, and it was like, and it was like there were middle-aged men who had it good and worked their entire lives. And all of a sudden we're unemployed and we're going, how do I find how do I value myself if I can't provide for my family, which I've done all this time? And what's interesting about that is like, I spend 80% of 90% of my time unemployed. I don't have any less self-worth because I'm not compensated all the time for what I do. So there's that thing of like, I think this goes to a deeper issue is having an understanding your inherent value and what you have to contribute as opposed to what you want out of the world or from other people. And I feel like it comes from you. It's not at you. And I feel like a lot of this is, I'm also a Buddhist of 37 years, which is like my only job is to live up to what my potential is. And that I may not know exactly what that capacity is, but I have to be mindful of the kind of thoughts, words, and actions, positive and negative, that I do in order to kind of govern my own life without, So, you make a good point, which is, the value. Look, Break It Down show has its own audience and its own value, and what it is, and you create that. And as an artist, you have to go, this is what my vision is. This is what I want the show to be. These are the kind of people that I want to talk to. And you will find your audience without having to go like, I'll have to be very mindful of my audience and I have to create it for them as opposed to this is what I want to do.
Right.
Are you guys in or out? Right. And I think the challenge sometimes is when you spend so much of your time chasing the work or creating it for free, and I do it all the time for free. My sister said, "Oh, you have to have a love and a passion for it without any attaching anything to outcome or results." And I was like, "Yeah, like this is like this show is an expression of who you are and what you want to say, and also to this is your time capsule of how people are living and talking about the world as it is right now." Yeah. Like this will be beyond this will be your kids' will have this. So that's the other beautiful thing about film and television is this documenting of things. I still enjoy live theater because the magic of it is that moment in time will never be duplicated in the history of the world. That performance people are going to breathe and laugh in one performance that'll be totally different in the next. But that moment will never be able to be brought back to life. But every single night there's a new thing, And so, I just feel like we have this very finite amount of time while I'm physically on this planet. What kind of pebble do I want to throw into the pond? What kind of ripple do I have with that?
Todd, welcome to the show. Thanks for hanging around.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a great honor being on with Chad of the Righteous Gemstones.
Yes. And also, it's not my penis. I just want to always say when everybody asks, the first question they ask is, was that yours? Was that your mushroom cap penis? It's like, no. We all have dick doubles. Everybody. I think Tony said it was his penis, but I'm not. He played Keith. I was like, I'm not because this guy was well endowed. If I was him, I would say, yeah, that's definitely mine. But definitely Walton's is like an 89-year-old yoga teacher. Like Walton's baby Billy Dick is like that's a whole. But my guy his name is Victor Rivera. He's gone on IMDb. I was like, dude, why would you tell everybody you're my dick double? And he goes, James, it's a recurring role. He goes, and there's some women who have like a fetish with little mushroom cap. And I was like, whatever, dude. Like if it's getting you paid and getting you laid, I go, far be it from me to like. So yes. That's always my first thing when people go, Chad. And they're like, oh, Chad, little Chad. I was like,
I'm definitely appreciating your insight into the industry today, learning things I didn't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with what you said about Louisiana. I do remember a time here where the climate was more, conducive to filming, and the tax credits helped with that. And I also just think that Louisiana has this rich history to draw from as far as like, even as a backdrop or a background, or sometimes when you film in New Orleans, to me, that's almost a part of the character.
Correct.
In a production, I don't think movies like Angel Heart would have worked if it was, somewhere else, but that element of New Orleans and the rich history is something I think, that Louisiana can market and share with the world. And I think there's still an appeal.
No, for sure. And I have a movie that I adapted specifically, had somebody from Louisiana like totally change the entire film from the Midwest to the South.
Wow.
And she did an incredible job. And I threw the script, my friend Jennifer, Lynch, who's David Lynch's daughter. She's also an amazing director. She directs a lot of, American Horror Story stuff.
Right.
And her comment is, she goes, oh man, it's like first season of True Detective. You couldn't have done True Detective any other place.
Right.
And she said, the reason I'm dying to shoot in Louisiana is Mother Nature is the art director.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't, the crepe myrtle on the trees, the way the trees hover over the street, like it has a haunting thing. Like you can't not make a thriller or horror film, you can do it other places, but I feel like you just said, Louisiana is its own character in the movie. And that's exactly what I'm focused on right now. So it's to try to get this one done. So we have two that I'm going to produce, the first of the year and then a year later. And the whole point is that I think rather than this is what these states are suffering is these are vertical corporations that look at bottom lines, and entertainment is just a part of their income. Like Apple makes money off of computers and phones. So entertainment is just a side. Amazon makes money off of the VIG on everything that sends to your home. Do you know what I mean? Like Amazon makes money doing other things. So entertainment is not like it is for the movies, the old studios. So point being is they're looking for bottom lines and dollars and cents as opposed to creative endeavors. So one of the things that's happening in Louisiana that I'm being, really happy and proud about is being part of Film Louisiana, where we are now starting to make and create homegrown projects with creatives in town and self-financed with people that can buy tax credits from Louisiana. So rather than be on the tit of the trough that ever comes down from these streamers, like using, ironically enough, the Duplass brothers are from Louisiana. They're from New Orleans. And the Duplass brothers are now independently financing television with their own money, with their own streaming service. And so they now are then they sell it to the streamers, right? So it's like they take it's like independent television, but now independent film, but now they're doing it for television. And the point of that is to go, I think that's the only way we're going to survive these constriction of business and now the very confusing and detrimental tariffs, and now other countries not wanting our content, which has been our bread and butter. China not wanting our films and television is a really, really bad thing. I get it, but it's awful for us. We make billions off of those markets. India, for example, another market that we don't want to mess around with. So point being is that I think the more that we start to collaborate and put our talents together, collaborative process, and create projects in-house in each of these states and use the tax credits, the better. And I think that's the only way to do it is from the inside out as opposed to the outside in, because we've always been reliant upon that. And the tax credit has an extra bump for working outside of New Orleans proper, an extra bump for, people of color, an extra bump for seniors, an extra bump. Like, so and it's for homegrown Louisiana filmmakers. So that, I think every state's going to go through this. Otherwise, we're always going to be at the mercy of whatever these huge trillion-dollar conglomerates are going to decide how much they want to spend on entertainment.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you mentioned True Detective. I went to school with Nick Pizzolatto. We actually shared the same English teacher. But I did think that series totally changed once they took it out of Louisiana. It just lost something.
It was never the same.
No.
Yeah. Is he from Louisiana? Is Nick from Louisiana?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, from my hometown of Lake Charles. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he knew what that is. Yeah, the show's never quite. It set such a tone, and it was such a character that like everything else is kind of paled in comparison. I mean, like, look, Jodie Foster's amazing. Like, she's fantastic. It's just you're missing, like you said, you're missing the character of the state, like that gives it the grit and the grime. And, you could do a True Detective in an urban city. Sure. Naked City was an old show back in the day, but yeah. So I feel like, I'm hoping I do this thing called Monday Fun Day where it's Original Content Lab. And I did it last night, and we're booked up. We have, we have writers who want their material read by actors who can give feedback to writers to make their material stronger. One of our pieces started as a pilot and now is on its 8th episode, and now going back and cleaning up the pilot. It's something that we'll present to Danny McBride when it's ready to go. But I'm creating stuff in-house, and we do it for free, and it's online on Zoom, and I have actors get a chance to act and do cold reading and play all different 20 different characters in 3 hours, and writers have their material read. And it's like, so I'm creating my own little in-house development department, and I'm attaching myself to projects that I feel like I can get to certain people. Like we have a boxing movie that's perfect for Peter Berg, but it's not a boxing TV series, but it's not ready yet. Like we got 2 episodes. I need a 3rd episode, and I can then approach him with 3 full episodes ready to go. It's like the industry's changed. So I'm doing everything I can in terms of keeping creative and keeping people excited and enthusiastic and telling stories. That's my job.
Well, James, I have to ask you, because you're wearing a Jesse Gemstone t-shirt.
That's correct. This is the Goon Squad. This is the Jesse Gemstone and the Goon Squad. Right. It's kind of like it's like a throwback to we got Chad there, we got Jesse in the middle, and we got Levi, and so
that's awesome.
So yeah, it's a shirt that I kind of gave to the crew and everybody. It's like a trash can kids and kind of like the Archies. It's kind of like in that thing.
Right.
But yeah, and it says that we're it says here, ass kickers for Christ is that's our motto. We kick ass in the name of the Lord.
Has there been any talk, and a lot of people have mentioned interest in seeing the maybe a spinoff of the Baby Billy character getting?
Yeah. The 2 rumor. There's lots of rumors, but the 2 rumors that circled around, and I thought they were probably the most pragmatic, were a Gemstone movie, but then also Gemstone specials, like a very special, a very Gemstone Christmas.
Yeah.
Or the Gemstones, or Easter, the Gemstones have risen again. So he's thinking maybe one-off movies.
Wow.
But a spin-off of Baby Billy, I mean, like, he's just too iconic to let go. I mean, you could do a Baby Billy's Bible Bunkers or a Teen Just. Like, people would watch Teen Just, like all day long, like cocaine, induced rants by Baby Billy playing a teenager of Christ. Who's not in on that? Or
right.
You could literally do that first episode of season 4. Like, you couldn't do an entire Elijah Gemstone series with Bradley Cooper from the Civil War all the way, like that. Like, who wouldn't watch that? Like,
right.
So like the beautiful brilliance of Danny McBride on many levels is like Eastbound and Down. All storylines lived and died by Kenny Powers. Like
right.
Kenny had to be in everything. Like, it was one character. It was like the conduit for everything. Then when you got to White Vice Principals, then you kind of split it up between the 2 of them. you kind of like had a two-hander, as we say in the theater world. You had a two-hander. So from a one-man show to a two-hander, and then all of a sudden, Gemstones is like the genealogical tree. You literally could do, as we've done, flashback episodes like that they stand alone by themselves. So you could literally take any character and just kind of run with it. I heard there's drinking contests where they follow a character. Every time that there's a penis, somebody does a shot. Every time that there's a curse word, or anytime Judy Gemstone has a reference to her vagina. Anytime Edie Patterson, anytime Judy, there just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So it's just fun to be part of something that that took a little while to figure out, because I know we were in the shadow of like Ted Lasso for a while. We were in the shadow of like, what's the other one with the guy from Sunday Night Live, Barry? Like Barry was getting so all these other comedy shows were getting all this attention, and we were just doing our work. And then all of a sudden they kind of went away, and you're like, wow, what's this Gemstones like? And now people are discovering like, man, I'm late to the party. I'm like, dude, jump on. Like,
yeah,
we've been killing it. We've been killing it the whole time,
Right. I saw your trailer for Unit 234.
Yeah.
Today. Now that movie came out last year, but it's releasing this Friday, streaming.
Yeah, overseas. It came out overseas last year, and it opens this Friday. I'm going actually to Los Angeles for the opening of it. We're opening this Friday in 5 cities. So it'll be playing in Minneapolis, Orlando, in Los Angeles, and then Atlanta. So we're doing it in 5 cities. So we'll open theatrically in 5 cities. And then that day, this Friday the 9th, it goes into VOD. And it's a great thriller written by Derek Steiner. Really tight cat and mouse game. Incredible performances across the board. Don Johnson being our number 1. Number 2, Isabelle Fuhrman coming off the Orphans franchise. Really great. Hasn't done an action thriller, so that's really great that I'm aware of. Maybe she has, but this one's solid. And then you got Jack Huston. You're coming off the famous Huston family, but it's like Jack did Boardwalk Empire, coming off Mayfair Witches. I mean, and we shot it in Grand Cayman Island. The fun part for me is I'm moving from bureaucratic asshole to bad guy, henchman, enforcer kind of thing. I lost 25 pounds. Thank you, Ozempic. Ozempic, boxing, and Pilates. It's a great combination. The Ozempic cocktail, as I like to call it, the trifecta. So I played Don. I played a character of Don Johnson's bodyguard, henchman, enforcer. Very quiet, very subtle. I'm in lots of scenes with Don. I have some scenes where I have lots of dialogue, but mostly I'm throughout. It's a force, and then all of a sudden he kind of really starts to rear his head of like what he's capable of doing and how dangerous he can be. So there is something fun about kind of being that very subtle, kind of servant right hand, but it is kind of an extension of if you think about it, from Chad and the Goon Squad and Jesse. Like, we go out and we kick ass, in the name of Christ. And then Don, has me drive, and I'm packing. He doesn't have to wear a gun. I'll jump in front of a bullet for him. I'm obviously packing heavy heat. And when some shit goes down, I kind of take care of it. So, wow. And I haven't seen the film, but I know that people have, and they overseas it went that very well. And I think it's going to do great. I'm excited to see it. I want to see it in the movie theater because we shot it 3 years ago, actually exactly 3 years ago, and we do have a streaming deal. It'll come to streaming at some point, once we do VOD. But yeah, I'm just excited. And then the next project I have coming out is called Hunting Season, and that's opposite Mel Gibson. So I'm moving into I kind of had a thing where I was like doing supporting leads, like Spencer Confidential was a supporting lead, Deepwater Horizon supporting lead, Trumbo, I'm a supporting lead, so I kind of banker. So, kind of moved into the supporting lead category. The COVID and the strikes and stuff kind of like put a damper in that. And now I'm happy to say I'm moving back into that, working opposite Don Johnson for, I think I'm in 15, 18 scenes, something like that. Wow. And then moving on to the next thing will be Hunting Season is Mel Gibson, and I'm the sheriff in the town. And I have like a dozen scenes with paragraphs of dialogue working opposite Mel Gibson. So the fun part is I've held my own with the kind of Oscar, Jared Leto's, Bryan Cranston nominee, like these kind of actors. And so now it's kind of being the supporting, the right-hand man to these lead actors and holding my own, which is, so this is kind of like the third act of my career. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I think also I'm focusing a little bit more on producing. So I have about a half a dozen projects of which I have to prioritize one at a time. So, I have a film that I'm focused on between now and January of next year that my son is in. I'm also in. We have a Oscar nominated and Golden Globe winning and Emmy winning actress attached to the project. So yeah, man, we're just trying to, and we'll shoot in Louisiana or unfortunately Mississippi, wherever, but I'm pushing for Louisiana.
Yeah.
But I don't write the check. So I want to get it made.
Right. It was interesting, Grand Cayman as a location filming.
Yeah.
Any reason why? I mean, I've been to Grand Cayman. It seems like everything's expensive there.
It is. Your $60 a day per diem does not hold salt in there, unless you find what I found was like this expat restaurant bar by Canadians across from my hotel that had like happy hour specials, and I'm like, yeah, this I can afford. That $80 breakfast, like that they flew in the eggs and they flew in the bacon and they because nothing's made in like the fish stuff is where it's cheap, but like everything else is flown into Grand Cayman. I think it's more on a financial basis. I think people can invest in projects in Grand Cayman, and there's a even better than a tax credit, I believe. But also, I mean, dude, it's pristinely, as you said, you've been there.
Oh yeah,
it's gorgeous. Like those I've never had a sunset that's gone for an hour. An hour. Like it starts out and it melts, like the little melting, but other places the sun sets down and the sky is thick. No, it goes like all the colors. It's Roy G. Biv, it's like all the colors of the ultraviolet color. And then the sky is then purple and then gray and then blue and it's got orange and magenta. And you're like, what the hell? This is just incredible. So the fun part is most of our shooting was at night because it takes place at night. We had some day shoot stuff. So we knocked the day shoot stouts up because it was just brutally hot. Yeah. And then most of the movie was at nighttime, which kept me the days free to go learn to scuba dive and to, explore the island and swim with stingrays and turtles. And I'm like, dude, this is like every once in a while I get a job where I'm like, this is a fucking vacation.
Yeah.
Like, I go, so for the 100 that I do and have done, or 50 to 100 auditions that I don't get a year, for 15 years of self-taping, or 40 years or 30 years of going in live on top of self-tapes. It's like for all that effort, for all those that invest, then I get this. So then you're like, okay, this makes it worthwhile. Like all that effort, and then you get a vacation job. And I've had those where like it's just Mexico City. I did a movie here. We shot it here in Louisiana, and they did reshoots in Mexico City, and it's like, flown first class, 5-star hotel. I had a driver that had an Uzi. I had a bodyguard. I had my own little bodyguard too. And we're helicoptered into the mountains of Mexico. Like it was just ridiculous. And now I found out later on it was financed by the drug cartel, and the movie and the feds own the movie because they're not gonna let it be distributed because it was like with drug cartel money. Oh, wow. And all the ADs are like, man, everybody's getting paid in cash, like cash. Like why is everything cash? Yes. They're like, this something's up. You know what I mean? And that was called Hypnotize. And at some point that'll come out. But yeah, like sometimes you get that it's beautiful environment. I mean, I've still, people were hating on me every time I'd be like, yep, you're another sunset. People like, freezing in New York. I'm like, fuck you, man. Like,
right.
Like another sunset. I was like, look, dude, this is all work and effort. You have to, this is not about me or my ego. This is about, this is more a testament to don't give up, keep going, because you're one audition away. You're one self-tape away, maybe. Right.
Yeah.
And the irony of this whole story is like, I paid to go to a casting workshop with the casting director, because I knew her boss had cast me in the Butler, but she didn't know me. And so I was like, look, I think it's worth paying $60 to meet this woman for like an hour. and get her email address and show her my work. And I walked in. She's like, "We've cast you." I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "James, Billy talks about you all the time." And Ashley's this amazing casting director. She's the next generation of casting in that office and in general. And so we got to work together. I did a scene. She gave me notes, adjustments. I did it again. And that was in 2019, just before the strike, before the COVID. In 2020, then in 2022, I booked this. She puts me up for a move for this role. I do one take, and I get 6 weeks in Grand Cayman Island, with thousands of dollars in residuals from that $160 investment. And the testament of that has nothing to, again, it's not about me. It's about tenacity, and it's about being smart and going, I'm trying to build a relationship with a younger casting director that may not be familiar with my work. Their boss is, but they're not. And for them, and they're trying to carve out their own curation and identity as a casting director. And I could be part of that. I could help them. And so it went my way. You know what I mean? But that $160 investment, and some people say, well, I wouldn't pay to see a casting director. It's like, no. I'm going there to build a relationship. This is not, I'm not expecting any remuneration from this. I'm expecting that I'll build a relationship. And every single time, and remind actors too, every single time that you're self-taping, you are building a relationship. You're making an impression. And these casting directors finally are going to be acknowledged by the Academy because their art is in curation, in identifying and remembering the impression that actors made maybe decades ago.
Yeah. And
they need to be acknowledged for that. And putting together these ensembles, like you see these ensembles in these movies, are you kidding me? That needs to be recognized. Same thing with stunts. That has, especially now that AI is a threat to stunts. You have to acknowledge that there's like the stunt guy from Gemstones, the stunt coordinator, like he's incredible. Yeah. And his people are incredible. And they go through fire and they do car pranks. like there are human beings that are risking their lives to entertain us and to make it look real and disturbing and have an experience. Yeah. I just feel like you have to acknowledge those things.
Well, James, so I'm definitely intrigued by Unit 234.
Yeah.
And I want to get it on video on demand this Friday. But working with Don Johnson, I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to hang out with him and talk? And did you bring up Miami Vice?
I knew better. I was told not to. Somebody gave me a heads up, and I was like, "Hey, Sonny, what's up, buddy?" And like, no, I did not do that.
Good.
That was somebody. I'm glad I did. Nobody told me not to do that to Mark Wahlberg after the third time. And it's like, it's just a good vibration. He just come on. Me like, fuck you, DuMont. Like, we've done 2 movies together. And you're going to give me the Marky Mark dance like on our first day of Spencer Confidential. And I go, well, I'm the bad guy. And yeah, you can fucking hate me more now. Like, we're good. Like, you're about to put my head in a foot bath. Like, we're good. I know what I'm doing. I'm fucking with you, bro. I'm doing this on purpose. I'm like, we're good. But I'm setting a tone for how we're going to do this movie. Yeah. I'm the bad guy. You want to kick my ass? I just did a Marky Mark imitation, which I know pisses you off. So we're good.
Feel it.
Yeah, feel it. Can you feel it? yeah, And it was like, and I'm in a tracksuit that matches my car. Like, how can I not do that? Like, how can I not? So point being, but I was warned to not talk about Miami Vice, even though that may or may not be true. The downside for me was that first day of shooting where I really wanted to talk to him about other friends. And, friend of mine, his ex-wife, friend of mine was very close to them and his family and his boys. And so like, I was like waiting for that opportunity, but our first day of shooting is when it was finally announced that Bruce Willis had the brain condition, and he and Bruce are very close, and they came up together, and he helped Bruce to kind of get established early on. So we had a little bit of a conversation about that, but like our first day he was lamenting on a friend who's sick, and it kind of never got better after that. Like, it's kind of never. And I was like, well, I'll just be your bodyguard and shut the hell up and pull out some guns and kick some ass and take my paycheck and learn how to scuba and shut the fuck up. Like I'm just gonna, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna do my thing.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing to navigate around these various different people that I've dealt with. That's an art form in itself. I realize that I'm a light. I'm very positive. I walk into a room and not everybody's interested in my frequency and things. I kind of need to dim it down and read the room a little bit. And then when I feel that I'm not going to overwhelm and burn somebody with my positivity, so I've learned to kind of navigate that. So that was a little bit of it was hard to kind of work around because you took that really hard, and I, as I would any friend, and then he got busy and I got busy, and then, I got COVID, and then my body double had to step in. My stunt double from Spencer Confidential actually flew in and stood in for me while I was in the hotel for a week.
Right.
So, I got COVID. The first time I got COVID is that I'm in a 5-star hotel in Grand Cayman Island with 24-hour room service and getting paid. It's like, ain't nobody crying for you, DuMont. People telling stories about they can't go to the bathroom and they're this and that, and they're like pain. I was like, no, dude, the government has sealed my door. They have a guy that drops my food. I was fearful that I wasn't going to get out in a week, but they gave me all these drugs and stuff. And I was like, I was out and, I was out on Easter. I was like, he has risen. Because I had some nightmares around day 5 that are what if I never get, what if I have the other guy who was in the room for 2 weeks?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I'm on day 5 and I was a little bit of stir crazy, it helped to have the beach there, but being in one room and not being able to leave 5 days was a lot, but it wasn't, but again, nobody's crying for me in a 5-star hotel with 24-hour room service getting paid to have COVID.
Right. And James, also familiar with your work in American Horror Story.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's good. You have a wide range of, I guess you wouldn't be opposed to doing horror.
No, I'm down for stuff that makes sense. I produced my own horror film that I was in called Cellar Door, which is just a super fun, trap and torture movie. We had a low budget, but we sold it for a very large profit, so it worked out fine. But yeah, I'm down for stuff that I'm always, what's the role? You know what I mean? What's the role? Where is it? And does this make financial sense? You know what I mean? Can I afford to do this? Am I gonna make money, break even, or chalk this one up as this is just I'm gonna lose money to be able to do a role like this.
Right.
Even the Mel Gibson thing, it was there were names that were circled around, but the director, because what you just talked about in terms of, I have a pretty heavy range, and it seems to be expanding now with being a little thinner. I'm not as charactery. I can kind of move into some leading roles. So it's one of those things where the director called up and made the offer, which is great. In the middle of things being really bad and friends really struggling, the director's picking up the phone and saying, hey, look, there are 3 different actors that can each of these actors can bring this element of the character to life in 3 different people. But you're one actor that can do all 3 of these things very, very well in one character. And that makes sense to me. And you can work fast and quick. So I did 11 scenes in 3 days with paragraphs of dialogue. Some of my scenes were 8 and 11 pages of dialogue in 3 days. Wow. So it's I liken what I do now to being like a closer in baseball. It's I just come in and throw 9 strikes, or 3 masters, 3 mediums, 3 close, next angle, 3, 3, 3, next angle. When I did Candy Cane Lane with Eddie Murphy, it was they spent 2.5 hours setting up the shot because it was so elaborate, but I knocked all my work out in 20 minutes. And Reggie Hudlin, the second time working with him, was that's why we're always going to be working together. It's you came in, did your work in 20 minutes. We just spent hours getting this together, and now we're done and we can move on to the next thing. He's you're an assassin, you're a closer. And so that was why the Mel Gibson thing kind of went my way, is because, I compete with names who are either too expensive or unavailable. Even for Unit 234, they were pinning and availing me. And then all of a sudden, one of the producers I could get my famous friend to be in it. And that person just wanted too much money. So they came back to me, and I was like, I see 6 weeks at Cayman Island as a pretty good thing. Yeah, it's below my rate of what I normally get, but I got a feeling this is going to work out. You know what I mean? So usually, even when I get auditions, it's because someone's unavailable or they're too expensive.
Right.
Which I'm fine with. I don't mind being a sloppy seconds to some folks. With American Horror Story, I did Coven, where I was Sarah Paulson's obstetrician. She couldn't have a baby, so she had to go to the Coven to have a child. And then second time I did Freak Show. Opposite again, Sarah Paulson and I become friends since then. And I saw her show in New York, and I'm going to invite her to the screening in Los Angeles if she's available. And so I did 2 or 3 episodes of Coven, and I did 5 episodes or so of Freak Show. It was with myself and another wonderful actor named PJ Marshall, who's going to be, coming out in a big movie opposite Kevin Spacey, a really cool film. I think Kevin Spacey might get back on the radar. Not sure how I feel about that, but I think everybody's entitled to a second chance, or third, or fifth, or 25, or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, man, I had it, and we shot in Louisiana. I got to work from home. Same thing with the NCIS New Orleans. Is to get up and roll out of bed and go make a TV show. 20 minutes from my house was ridiculous. Oh, wow. In fact, one movie I stayed at my sister-in-law's house, and my son was in it. Called what was it called? I can't think of the name. So literally, we stayed at my sister-in-law's house, and we walked from her guest house cabin down the street in Baton Rouge at the end of where they were shooting. We walked to work. I was like, son, this doesn't happen in LA. It's right. So yeah, it was pretty fun. So yeah, there's something about doing those projects. And also, I just finished working with Ryan Murphy again on American Sports Story. Aaron Hernandez, football player from the New England Patriots. And so when my tape went through and sat around for 6 months between, of the strikes, my self-tape held up, but they purposely put me in another role that was a recurring role, larger thing. And that had everything to do with all the same people from Ryan Murphy's camp, and Ryan going, oh, we remember James. Yeah, we know what he's going to do. Let's give him that recurring role as opposed to this, one episode, hit and run. So I did that. That's based on a real guy. And that's a really tragic story. Those performances in there were fantastic. I mean, really, it was amazing. So we had a really, 6 Degrees of Ryan Murphy, so I've worked with Ryan Murphy 3 times. I worked with Peter Berg 3 times. I worked with Spielberg twice, Soderbergh twice, Reggie Hudlin twice. I guess I suck. Oh, Jesus. Oh, yeah. Another self-tape from James. What are we going to do? Oh, my God. That's right. Can I put it with him one more time? Can I do that? What do I? Yeah. His energy on set, his positivity, his work ethic. I don't know. It's a risk. Do I want to go through that shit again?
Have you ever gotten a role without an audition? Somebody just says, I want a James DuMont type character.
Exactly. They say there's a thing where who's James DuMont? Uh-huh. Get me James DuMont, and I want a younger James DuMont.
Yeah. Again,
I don't want James DuMont again. I want somebody a younger version. Give me a younger James DuMont version.
And then the next one is who's James DuMont?
Yeah, whatever happened to James DuMont?
This your formula works though. I mean, it's easy to work with people who are easy to work with.
Yep.
The person who's paying the bills and got his eye on the clock, he's not the creative person. He's like, this is expensive. How long is this going to take? How do we make this not be so expensive? Correct. And you show up and you kill your part. The whole Mammoth thing about to show up and kill the truth and all that. Truth is also we know that James is going to show up and he's not going to waste any time. He's going to do this in 1 take, 2 takes, whatever it is. Not a dick on set. All of a sudden, it's easy to say yes to you to go out and do these things.
Yep.
That's but that's not the same formula for the next person.
Correct.
It's all different. How does one figure out what their formula is? Is that acting classes? Is it mentors? How do you get the reps to figure that out?
I teach an on-camera workout, and because I teach actors to go from self-tape to set. It's one thing. It's one thing to get the audition. It's another thing to be able to execute it. And it's another thing to be able to do the job. These are all those are 3 very different things. And one of the things I help actors with, and I do this more because I'm in the of service part of my career. I feel now they compensate me for my time to lock up my time and pay me some money. They compensate me for my experience. I've blown it and I've said stupid shit, and there's certain cast directors that I never see. There's certain, I've pushed when I should have just pulled back, So I've made mistakes. But I feel So one of the things we do is I help actors. I do an on-camera workout. It's called oncameraworkouts.com is our website. And I teach them to master self-tapes because it's the only way they're going to move their way forward, in the process is every single time that you're auditioning, you're making an impression. Now, the biggest thing about impressions is I'm of the Aristotle belief that, knowing thyself is the key to all knowledge. That's what Aristotle said. The key to all knowledge is to know thyself. And so rather than trying to fit into the business the way whatever the business is and whatever it defines itself is, and it's ever changing and growing, especially now, you have to ask yourself, what are your superpowers? So I do a kind of a career blueprint with actors, and I say, write down 10 to 30 things that make you different, special, or unique. What are the 10 things that make you different? Write down 30 things that make you different. I'm a good husband. I'm honest. I'm hardworking. I'm authentic. I'm optimistic. Like, what are your superpowers? What the hell do you have to offer this world and this business? And then I go, you start with your big 30, hone it into 10, and those should be reflected in your headshots. Those should be reflected in every self-tape. Those should be reflected in your in the reels that you may create, or the kind of work you want to create with other people. And then you start to identify who are the collaborators that can bring your superpowers to light. So Peter Berg is a perfect example. Peter Berg likes to make movies about real human beings put in life-death situations. And what does one do? Lone Survivor, Deepwater Horizon, Patriots Day, even Spencer Confidential. Are you going to do the right thing at the wrong time because it's the right thing to do? And what's the price of that? And you have to, and the other thing about Peter Berg is he shoots it like a documentary, and you have to be real and believable and authentic. So this little round pill face fits as the vice president of BP, fits as the emergency management guy in Patriots Day, and fits as the fat ass tracksuit Goomba in Spencer Confidential. So my superpowers of authenticity, honesty, believability, work. And then my work ethic of what I did and created Deepwater Horizon entrenched a relationship with Peter Berg and I for the rest of my life. Now, mind you, he's shooting in places where the networks and the studios are deciding, now he's doing a movie, a World War II film in Australia. There's not going to be anything for me in that role, and they're going to be casting people out of Australia. There's nothing he can do about that. Same thing with his last project in New Mexico. Netflix has a big studio in it's got to be somebody from New Mexico. So, but my point is, actors all creatives need to identify what are your superpowers? What do you have to offer? You can be a fan of that director, but you're not an outsider. You're a fellow storyteller. What about their work speaks to your superpowers? I say to actors, it's like if they were to make a biopic of your life story as it really unfolded, all the good, the bad, and the ugly. Who's that director? Who's the 3 directors? And what about those and those are the people that you want to start to collaborate with. You don't want jobs from them. You have something to offer them. I see your vision. You should be able to speak to their movies. Oh man, the scene in Schindler's List where he's got the rifle and the red dress, the girl with the or the shower. Like, I can talk to Spielberg about scenes from his movie that really touched me. And my manager picked up the phone and said, James really wants to work on because of these reasons. She's like, I'll bring that to Steven. Boom, there it is. 2 films with Steven Spielberg. And then the next part of that thing is, what are the characters that exist or have existed in film and television that you can play? Forget what the industry says. Forget what your agent says. Like, what do you think you're capable of? And how does one create the pictures, the reels, the resume, the training to live up to that expectation and possibility? And then the last part of it is, what actors' careers would you most like to emulate on and off camera? So I build this blueprint for people. So actors are not going into this waiting to be validated by the business. They're going, I'm armed with a sense of who I am, who I want to work with, what kind of characters do I want to create, and what kind of career do I want to have. Now, that's a fucking plan, because a dream without a plan is just a dream. And it's American dream. They call it American dream because you have to be asleep to believe that thing. That's a George Carlin steal. Like me, George. So point is that I think I try to help actors identify the things that make them different, special, unique, and exploit that in every single self-tape that they do, because it's the only entry point that they have in our business. There was a time where when it was live auditions, they can only see a certain amount of actors in a given 8-hour day. Now they can see 300 actors where they used to see 40. So that gives all these other people, different ages, ethnicities, diversities, different languages, different countries. It offers, and everybody, I believe, everybody deserves an entry opportunity in our business. It was very, very entitled before. And now it's like you have to prove it and you have to earn it. Even myself, I have to prove it in a self-tape. I shouldn't have to self-tape at this point. It should be offers. I think pre-COVID, when I was at the apex of things in 2020, Spencer Confidential, The Banker, I'm being flown to LA, Netflix put me in hotels, cars, Apple flying me to Memphis. I'm not flying myself anymore like I was for years, right? And so half of my opportunities were offers and the other half were auditions. And now that there's been such constriction of the business, less opportunities, a lot of people have starved out, that you're going to get A-list actors working for far, far less than what they did before for producer points. I think Don's one of our producers on this project. So rather than paying his rate, I think that he became a producing partner in it. So it's like, there's ways to do that. But that's a long-winded answer to your question. But I feel it's like, I think with any creative, you have to identify what you have to offer as opposed to what you want out of the world and out of the business, not what your, country can do, what you can do for your country, not what your conjunction can do for you. It's like, why you? Why should I pick you over all these other actors? And as you said, it takes a while to get that signature thing. And I feel something about self-tapes is like, you got to earn it every fucking time. It's a job interview, like I got to earn my stripes and not rest on any laurels. I think I've seen a lot of actors rest on, you should be offering me this, or I shouldn't have to audition, or I shouldn't I'll go, yeah, I'll do that. That makes sense. Or that doesn't make sense right now. Like there was a director that I had on my list. I have a dream list. I had it on for like 10 years. And finally this project came out and I got to read these incredible roles at first. And then they came back. It's like, yeah, would he be the police captain? We don't know the captain's name. We're not sure if he has any lines. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll let another 10 years go by. I don't want to work under those circumstances.
Right.
I've waited 10 years to work for this fucking guy, and I'm going to take the police captain that we don't know what his character name is, and he's police captain, and his character name is his job title, and we don't know if he's going to say anything. And I'm like, I'm doing a fucking movie with Eddie Murphy, like for Amazon. This is going to be the big Christmas comedy, and it was. I was like, why would I? And the same thing with this offer that just came in. I was just like, I can't go backwards. It doesn't. You know what I mean? As much as I want to work, but I want to work on something that I like, that I'm really excited about, the challenges. I had an audition that came in and it was like, oh my God, this is a supporting lead. Like, this is so, and I created 2 totally different takes of this thing, but it was too long to send 2 takes, but I was able to choose from these different takes that I thought were both powerful. In fact, I created I call a button at the end of my scene. It's like I put music under this one moment that's just sums up everything between this father and son. I mean, it's like that, cats in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue. And it's like, it tears me up every time about the father and son relationship that you have to, for him to be a man, as I'm going through this now, for my son to be a man and as in his own man, I got to let him go. And that's a hard thing. So I put that in the last part of the thing, even though it's not part of the movie. It's like, that's mine. So I'm going to put it out there to go, but that's how I'm being creative in this time where it's tough, Yeah. And when it's tough, just like in the Roaring 20s, some of the greatest writers and artists and musicians and poems came out of that. And that's where we're at, is we're at a time where from the ashes, great phoenix out of the ashes, man, from all this is going to create beautiful, incredible stories of human beings.
I love it. So, everybody watching, go check out Unit 24. Drops the end of the week here.
Unit
You can get it on
234.
stream.
234.
Start, Unit 234. My bad. Unit 234, and it drops at the end of the week, May 9th. And so that's actually just in a couple of days. Get ready to watch that. If you're in one of the cities where it debuts, go check that out. Also, I wanted to thank Todd for coming on and being my secondhand man on the New Orleans side. And he has a great book called Axes of Evil about axe murderers from the early part of the century. So you guys should definitely go check that out.
We got to make that into a movie, Todd. Let's do that.
We're going to talk in a minute. That's my soft pitch.
Let's stop fucking talking about that. Let's do it. Let's go.
Everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow. James, thank you so much. Okay. Todd, thank you so much. I'll come back and say goodbye to you guys personally. Everybody else, I'll see you all tomorrow.